Dr. Jerry Sikat, Dr. Padulina, Willie Padulina, colleagues in government, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The government's vision, as set out in the Philippine Development Plan midterm update, calls for the attainment of inclusive growth. In recent years, we have observed that the Philippine economy has been performing quite well, both relative to our economic targets and historical performance. The GDP growth of 6.8% in 2012, 7.2% in 2013, and the 6% during the first half of 2014 has put the country on a higher growth path. This did not happen as a matter of course, but as a result of the implementation of coherent policy reforms and programs. And it is crucial that we unrelentlessly pursue and deepen these reforms to sustain our growth momentum. We recognize that amid the positive developments, persistent challenges remain. For instance, despite the improvements in the country's competitiveness, one of the factors that continue to pull down the country's ranking is labor market efficiency. The recent results of the Labor Force Survey in July 2014 show that labor market performance has improved, with unemployment rate declining to 6.7%, down from 7.3% in the previous period, accompanied by a moderation in underemployment to 18.3% from 19.2% in the previous year. The quality of employment has also been improving, as can be seen from the rising share of the more remunerative wage and salaried workers. However, unemployment and underemployment rates have remained relatively high, and the increase in quality employment generation has not been fast enough to absorb the new entrants to the fast-growing labor force. The challenge is how to employ as many job seekers as possible while keeping labor standards within acceptable levels. This, after all, is the essence of inclusive growth, that every able-bodied person is given the opportunity to contribute to growth and enjoys a decent quality of life. The reduction in poverty incidence among Filipinos in the first semester of 2013 to 24.9% from 27.9% in the first semester of 2012 is a very welcome development. But while promising a downward trend, the current poverty situation still presents a complex set of challenges. Indeed, we have achieved real gains that have not been achieved in the past. But compared to our end targets by 2016, there is a need to further accelerate key plan strategies to bring about quality employment generation and poverty reduction, the two important measures of inclusive growth. First, we emphasize the importance of spatial and sectoral dimensions of our development strategies. That is, we need to focus efforts and resources on understanding and addressing constraints faced by people in geographic areas and economic sectors where many of the poor are found, in order for growth to result in more opportunities and thereby accelerate poverty reduction. Second, being a country highly vulnerable to geopolitical hazards, a comprehensive strategy will be pursued in terms of reducing and managing disaster risks, covering aspects of preparedness, prevention and mitigation, income diversification, social protection, and insurance to mitigate the effects of disasters. As we deal with the challenges presented by climate change, we need to protect livelihoods and employment and enable people to recover quickly from disasters. Third, to broaden the base of growth, lagging areas can be linked with leading ones through connective infrastructure and human capital investments. incentives through access to capital, technology, and market information present in urban markets will be provided to small producers to enable them to engage in higher value-adding activities. Meanwhile, investments in education and health that build human capabilities allow people to easily move to where economic opportunities might be. Fourth, the government must support efforts that boost our competitiveness. A competitive market attracts further investments, and this will generate productive and quality jobs. To sustain the country's higher growth trajectory, investments must continually rise. For this to happen, it is essential to maintain a stable and predictable business environment characterized by macroeconomic stability and supported by sound monetary and fiscal policy and a strong financial system. It is in this context that the present discussion on jobs expansion and development and examining labor market regulations becomes important. Labor market regulations have a very important effect in the allocation of the country's most important resource from low productivity areas to high productivity areas. Let me just point out some recent findings in the literature on labor market regulations and their impact in developing countries to provide a context to the current discussion. This is a 2014 paper recently published in the World Bank Research Observer, which reviews the literature on labor market regulations, in particular minimum wages and employment protection regulations, and focuses on the impacts of these on employment, earnings, and productivity. Strong and opposing views exist regarding the costs and benefits of these regulations, but the results of the review suggest that their impacts are generally smaller than the heat of the debates would suggest. This is looking at it from a cross-country perspective. Efficiency effects are found sometimes, but not always. And the effects can be in either direction and are usually modest. The distributional impacts of both minimum wage and employment protection legislation are clearer, with two effects predominating: an equalizing effect among covered workers, but with groups such as youth, women, and the less skilled disproportionately outside the coverage and its benefits. Although the overall conclusion is one of modest effects in most cases, the policy implication is not that these regulations do not matter. On the other hand, both minimum wages and employment protection legislation can affect distributional objectives. On the other hand, these regulations can generate undesirable economic or social impacts if they are established or operate in ways that exacerbate the labor market imperfections that they were designed to address. In short, ladies and gentlemen, there are arguments both in favor and against these types of labor market interventions. And that makes the question of whether they are desirable or not essentially an empirical issue that can only be resolved in the context of the specific conditions of a specific country. And so that puts the PIDS study on a very important plane. And so we look forward to the discussion today, and we hope that you will participate actively in the discussions. Thank you very much.